This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
Is the man, the myth, the legend that is Joe Schad. Joe, how you feeling this Sunday afternoon, my friend? That you got to sleep in a little bit more today.
A little bit, Big O, a little bit. It's unfortunate that this game doesn't, count for much, but at least the previous 16 did. So it could have been worse.
I was talking about this, Joe, that I'm a little worried because, in the first year, you're 0-7 and you're gung-ho and a whole bunch of young guys and unknowns and unheralded guys, and they're all trying to prove themselves, so they got a chip on their shoulders, and finally they start figuring things out, and they start winning games, and they go 5-4 and knock out the Patriots. Second season, you start slow again, but you're able to recover, and you're on your way to maybe even challenging for a playoff spot. Unfortunately, you run out of gas at the end, and you can't get in. This year, you were, again, terrible start, but on the trajectory of trying to set yourself up for the playoffs, and in a thumping last week at the hands of the Titans. And so now I really wonder if this team today doesn't have the motivation. I'm not saying I don't believe in tanking. I don't believe players go out there and quit. That's on their resume, the film. You're around these guys. You know that there's only a couple of those kind of guys in every locker room that might quit on teams. Most everybody else is a professional like you that does their job to the best of their ability every single day. But human nature, just you let your guard down when you don't have something on the line almost. And I do worry about that with this team, that if the Patriots do break their will, let's say running the ball today and keeping Mac on short yardage situations and keeping him on a positive, I don't know if the will of the Dolphins will last for 4 quarters. Your thoughts
Yeah,
on that?
I think if you see that, it's going to be sort of like what we saw at the end of the last game, which is where in the end of the third quarter and throughout the fourth quarter, there was some demoralization that could be sensed in terms of their inability to stop the run. It was like a dam that broke.
Right.
I do think so. There is the possibility of laying an emotional egg with the playoffs out of reach. There are some things working for the Dolphins in their favor today. One, they're playing a rival in the New England Patriots. Nobody likes Bill Belichick. You want to try to sweep the Patriots, which is something that hasn't happened in a very long time, 2 decades. You want to try to finish with a winning record. I do think that matters. I'm not suggesting that the players care more about finishing with a 9-8 record than they do perhaps hitting a few of those contract incentives that could give them 25 grand, 50 grand, 200 grand. Xavier Howard, for example, needs to be on the field for like 90% of snaps today in order to receive one of those big playing time bonuses. And players have those in their contracts, so there are some self-motivation things with the contract too. I think that Dolphins will be in this game emotionally. I think that Brian Flores and his staff, one of the things they do pretty well is keep the team in a good frame of mind mentally. But I agree with you. If things unravel, in my mind, it'll unravel in the fourth quarter, and you'll see that Ramondre Stevenson dude or Damian Harris, if he's playing, 2 physical, tough dudes.
Mm-hmm.
And the Dolphins watched Stevenson up close in the Senior Bowl. I thought he would have been a guy who would look good in a Dolphins uniform. They passed on all those running backs. They passed on a lot of players that they coached in the Senior Bowl who are having good rookie seasons. If they are broken, it'll be in the fourth quarter.
You don't really feel like a running back really was going to make a difference on this team, right?
Well, it could have helped. Guys like
Barry
Ramondre
Sanders, you mean?
Stevenson are
Barry
legitimate.
Sanders? Is that what you're saying?
Well,
Is there a Barry Sanders out there? Because I don't see any back that was going to overcome this terrible offensive line, Joe.
So why, in your opinion, have Philip Lindsay and Duke Johnson performed better than Miles Gaskin and Savan Ahmed. Perhaps, while it's mostly the offensive line's fault, perhaps those guys could have done a little better than 3 yards or so per carry.
Yeah, that's fine, and the sun shines on every dog's ass every once in a while. That doesn't mean that they were going to have great seasons. No running back unless you're Barry Sanders, unless you're Ricky Williams, and I don't look at any of those
What
guys.
about Jonathan Taylor? The Dolphins passed on him.
Yeah, they did pass on him, and I don't
So
know if.
that's
But wait a
so
minute.
that
Do you see the line that he runs behind, Joe? That's one of the 3 best offensive lines in the NFL. Their one guard is better than all 5 linemen that Miami have. Their guard, just one guard. I'll take the one guard over all 5 Dolphin linemen. Come on, man.
I understand that the Indianapolis Colts have a very good offensive line. Are they going to lose Are they going to miss out on the playoffs and lose to the Jaguars today? Is that going down? Let's keep an eye on that.
I don't know.
Listen, no, but here's the point. The point is, they should have added a running back. Obviously, Tua over Justin Herbert was an unfortunate error, a grandiose, massive mistake, a miscalculation. But it's also been a mistake to pass on some running backs like Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, it's also a mistake to go with 4 young linemen and a journeyman on your line. It's also a mistake to have 3 offensive coordinators that don't know what the hell they're doing. It's also a mistake to have an offensive line coach that his head is spinning like a bobblehead and has no business being anywhere on the higher level of college football, much less the NFL. You know, it also doesn't help that you have an inexperienced quarterbacks coach. You know what I mean? And then you do that in front of an inexperienced quarterback. You know what I mean? There's a lot of crap that doesn't make sense that they did. They kind of set themselves up for failure this year. And you would have put all that inexperienced in front of another inexperienced running back who is not going to have the same kind of success that you would see in another area or another team that is much more developed.
I understand your point, but I would ask you this. Do you agree with me that within the last 3-4 years, the Dolphins should have drafted a running back higher than the 7th round? Do you agree with that?
Yeah, why not?
All right, so we agree. All right, so we agree.
It wouldn't hurt,
So we agree.
But my theory has always been that I think they wanted to develop the line and the quarterback first.
No, I
And
get
then
that.
and then instead of wearing out the running back over the first couple of years behind a bad line, and since most running backs are really one contract guys anyways, then you know that's the problem. So you know, to me, that's the thing that really kind of sets them back in all of this. So you know, to me, it's just I don't know, man. I'm just frustrated with all of this because I think that they've gone in a terrible angle or in a terrible way of building this offense for a quarterback that needed an offensive line and a running game, and a head coach that is not set to put this guy in a position to succeed. And again, if you're the Baltimore Ravens and you want to get a limited quarterback like Lamar Jackson, then you need to build around that limited quarterback because he's not a good passer. And they've done that. And if you're going to get a limited Ryan Tannehill as your quarterback because he can only be a game manager for you, well, then you've got to build around him the right way in order for you to at least succeed with him. These are 2 guys that are never going to carry you with their arms. But the 2 franchises were smart enough to build around them so they can be somewhat successful with those 2 guys. These people have completely failed. You grabbed the guy and you didn't know how to build around him. And that started with the line. That started with your coaching.
They drafted Austin Jackson. They
They
drafted Robert Hunt.
They let go of their veteran linemen. Not that the Emmanuel, whatever, that guy would have helped them out as much because he's kind of been up and down with the
They
Raiders.
drafted Liam Eichenberg.
Right, but you let
They
go of
drafted
Flowers.
Solomon Kinley.
Do you want Flowers at left guard or do you want Austin Jackson at left guard? Go out and spend some money on an offensive lineman. That's what they should have done. You cannot go for Joe. Name me somebody that starts 4 young linemen and has success. Nobody does that, dude. Nobody. I've never heard of that. Maybe 2 or 3, and boy, those 2 or 3 they might be like really high picks, which that's not what the Dolphins have on their line. Their highest pick is the guy at number 18. That's not incredibly high. That doesn't mean that you're picking a an all out stud. You know what I'm
At
saying?
18,
Yeah, yeah. At 18, you're not.
Austin Jackson.
If you fall at 18 as a left tackle, well, how many left tackles were taken before him, my brother? That year, how many?
3 or 4.
Okay, so then obviously you're not elite. You know, if you're an elite tackle, it's like up in the top 10. That's the elite tackle. If you're a tackle that falls into the teens, that means you have some warts.
So
You
then
know what
they
I mean?
shouldn't have drafted him.
Right? Well,
It
maybe
was a
you shouldn't
poor
have-
decision.
Yeah.
Listen, we all make poor choices. Listen, we all make
or
poor
you have no
choices.
offensive line coach that can get the best out of him. Right?
We just
He
go.
could be shot right now, confidence wise.
We just go in circles, man. It's been the same thing for years.
Amen.
I just want to bang my head, and this is only my 6th year back, 8th total. It's just the same thing over and over and over again. It never stops.
Right.
When will it stop?
When you get a head coach,
When will it get better?
When you get a head coach that can actually build a staff. That's the question I have for every Dolphin fan and every writer that comes on our show. You know, tell me, why would you think it's going to change anyway? For 3 years, that guy can't build a staff. What makes you think he's going to build a staff in year 4? Really? What makes you think he can build a staff? There's zero proof on that. To me, that's what's held back everyone, Joe. There's no way that all 5 linemen are bad and you're hitting on all the other picks. That doesn't make any sense. That has to be your
Well,
coach.
there's definitely blame to go around. We have to blame general manager Chris Greer because it sure seems that Austin Jackson was not a good pick. We also have to blame head coach Brian Flores because it sure seems that offensive line promotion of Lem Jean-Pierre was a mistake. So we all make mistakes, and the good franchises find ways to overcome those mistakes. No franchise goes without making mistakes. No franchise goes without key injuries. How come you see franchises winning Super Bowls and there are Pro Bowl players who they say, oh, it's amazing. They did it without this guy and they did it without this guy. And look at this guy. He's on crutches and in a sweatshirt and they still found a way to win.
Yeah. Yeah.
I agree with you that the coaching staff has come up short on the offensive side of the ball. I agree with you. I assume that big change is needed. And assuming Flores returns, I sure hope he finally gets it right.
Yeah, well, that's my question to you now. Does he get it right? What tells you in your gut that he's going to get it right next year?
I don't know. I don't know if he will. Honestly, I don't know. I can't say he will. How could I know?
Right.
I don't know.
You have zero confidence, right?
Well, I don't put words in my mouth. I didn't say
I'm
confidence.
well, okay. So
he has to show that.
Where's the confidence meter? Let's just be honest now. Where's the confidence meter from 0 to 10? Where's your confidence meter that Brian Flores can build an offensive staff?
Well, it's got to be at a 5 because Schad O'Shea didn't work out. Maybe they should have stuck with Schad O'Shea longer in retrospect. Yeah. Shane Gailey didn't work out. Maybe they should have stuck with Shane Gailey longer in retrospect. All right. So those were not terrible hires per se. Getting rid of them after a year certainly didn't work out. So, and I'll say what I said, on Thursday. There's only 32 offensive coordinator gigs in the NFL. Brian Flores has proven that he's gotten the defensive side of the ball worked out. If you have confidence in your ability, I think that's not a bad job. Not a bad job.
Preston Williams, Salvan Ahmed, Darius Hodge, Vince Beagle, and Hunter Long are your inactive.
Wow, Hunter Long. Hunter Long, a little disappointing from Hunter Long. I know we talk about this. All right, a lot of tight end. Look, Gesicki's probably not going to be back. So you're going to get Hunter Long next year. We'll see if Hunter Long was the right pick. All right, we'll see. And then Salvan Ahmed, I was looking at this earlier. You might not remember. He went for over 100 yards in last year's defeat of the Patriots here at Hard Rock Stadium in December. Right. So that is a very disappointing setback for Savon Ahmed this season. Very disappointing. Tua Tagovailoa, it should be noted, and I'm going to wrap here with you shortly. Tua Tagovailoa is 2-0 against the Patriots in his career, but he has only one passing touchdown in those 2 games, 3 rushing touchdowns, a passer rating under 77. So Flo and Tua have gotten it done against Belichick, but it hasn't really been because of Tua. So we'll see how he does today. A lot on the line. I am picking the Patriots to win today by 8 to 10 points. I think the Patriots win and cover, and I do think Brian Flores returns. I think there'll be some coaching staff changes. We have to see what happens with the front office.
Shocker.
Do they add to the front office? Do they add somebody to the front office?
So you're not buying the Harbaugh stuff?
No, I don't. Listen, I hope not. I think
dude, he had to give back money to Michigan last year. I think this is his agent throwing all that chum in the water just to get Michigan to come back to the table and say, give us back that money you took away last year. We want it back in an extension. I think that's what this is all about, really.
I'm going to guess that
although the Raiders thing is kind of crazy because Mark Davis is irresponsible. So you never know.
I'm going to guess that by 9 or 10 p.m. tonight, we'll all know that Flo is returning for next season.
Okay, maybe. I don't know. Did you see Glazer? Did you see Jay Glazer?
He said to keep an eye.
Yeah. First he says safe, and then he said keep an eye. And,
okay.
Just kind of like, well, is he safe or what are you hearing? So I'm just wondering.
Well, it is hard to get information from the Dolphins, and I have not, unfortunately, spoken with owner Stephen Ross in nearly 2 years. I'm hoping that changes in the near future. The owners' meetings are in Palm Beach. I'd love to get on a Zoom. I'm sure that Mr. Ross has Zoom. So, Mr. Ross, if you're watching, please jump on a Zoom with me. It'd be great.
Follow him on Twitter at Joe. And more importantly, please, folks, catch his work at the Palm Beach Post and subscribe. They got a lot of great writers there. Hal Habib does a great job. Tom D'Angelo, they got some really good people over there. So please subscribe to the Palm Beach Post and support our local journalists.
Thanks, Big O, and thanks for supporting us as local journalists. We appreciate you, buddy. That was a good article in the business online.
Thank you, sir.
That was good.
Time to do something for us and not for them. You know what I mean, Joe? All right, bro.
Be
good. Later. There you go. That's this platform. That's what it's all about. It's about media members, not about corporations.
This is the Big O Show. This is the